breakdown episode, the show in which basically we look. I said tactical breakdown. I've meant raw reactions. We're doing a raw reaction show about the news that Spurs have turned around to hijack Arsenal's deal for William Saliba. Now, when we've been doing these tactical breakdowns and raw reaction shows every single day, effectively, we've been doing these under the assumption that Arsenal are signing Saliba, that it's a done deal. In the media, across the press, it is continuously said that Arsenal have signed him pretty much. It's a done deal. He will return to Saint-Etienne on loan, and that will be that. And basically, now we're being told that there were small details that were not done, is the quote that we've seen. Now, those small details are basically, and they use the term small, these small details are the fact he hadn't actually signed. So the big details, the money going in, talking to the club, getting an agreement, but apparently the small details are him actually signing on that dotted line to join Arsenal. Incredible quotations that are coming out in the media today of how Arsenal are looking at it. But I hope you're well, despite this seemingly irritating news, and I hope you're enjoying the videos that we're doing, both the tactical breakdowns, which from the intro to this video you saw I'm very keen about, it seems, and of course these raw reaction shows as well. But I'd love to get your thoughts. So there's a live chat going on right now for those of you that have tuned in live. Thank you very much for everyone that has. Please leave your reactions in the comment section below, and also you can, if you're watching this on playback, leave your comments on what your thoughts are on the Saliba deal and what you think's going on. So let's react to this news. My initial reaction was, what else is new? That this is completely synonymous with Arsenal. It's completely same old from Arsenal, that we're dithering, we're not getting a deal done quick enough, and eventually someone is coming in and someone's taking him away from us. And I just don't understand. I can see it happening with Kieran Tierney. I mean, this for me has rolled on all summer pretty much, and so the fact that now that it's happening with Saliba shows that there's no reason why it couldn't also happen with the Kieran Tierney deal, is that it's fallen apart at the last minute seemingly, and now we could see the likes of Kieran Tierney's deal fall apart as well, because we're just penny pinching at the end of the day. We're trying to do what's best for the club. I understand that 100%. But you have to, if you want a player, you have to go out there and you have to go and sort him. You have to go and sign him. So the fact that we've not done that is really poor. Is really, really poor of the club, to be honest. Let's see what some of you guys are saying in the chat. Aaron Letchford says, why is it only Arsenal that can manage to mess up a transfer that was nearly done? You never hear this from any other club that has a transfer taken from the time wasted. Yeah, I can't 100%, mate. It is, as I said before, synonymous in this Arsenal behavioural activity, and it's nothing new. We've seen this happen with several deals in the past. The news that the brilliant interview, I really want to get his name right. I think it is Charles Watts that did the interview with Dick Law. And Dick Law basically talked about the different deals, including the Alexis Sanchez one. There was a verbal agreement, and then at the last minute, apparently someone got to Alexis Sanchez, and then the deal didn't happen. And he went to, obviously, end up playing for Manchester United after spending a half a season at Arsenal. And it's happened before. It's happened with so many different clubs that we thought we were signing players. Remember the whole Yanam Villa thing many years ago? It's just completely behaviourally correct in being an Arsenal supporter that we have to suffer through these awful transfer decisions and absolute dithering of the club. And it's absolutely maddening, and you can only obviously feel sorry for anyone looking in, and obviously rival fans can see this as an absolute joke, which it is, because Arsenal just dither and don't do the right thing with their money. Let's see what else you guys are saying. I think this Saliba fiasco and Kos leaving would make us sign one experienced centre-back, says Hassala. I'm not sure if it would. I think that Arsenal were still in the market to sign a centre-back, even with the Saliba deal on the verge of completion, we should call it. So I don't think it would have affected that in any sort of way. Brandon says it's funny how everyone complained about spending 30 million on an 18-year-old and selling him on loan, and now are upset that we won't get him. Hypocrites. Yeah, there's a little bit of an irony to that, I think. Thankfully, in terms of your story, I was one of those that was fully backing the signing of Saliba and wanted and was more than happy for him to go back on loan to sign him, because he is an absolutely brilliant talent that we should not be disregarding. South London's Finest B says, same old Arsenal, but we are surprised with our budget. No, we're not surprised with our budget at all. Now, I put out the question on Twitter, which plenty of you responded to. You can follow the Gooner Talk at the Gooner Talk TV on Twitter. I put out that I had a question, is that Spurs has obviously moved stadiums. They did so last season. And since that move, they've signed Ndombele, one of Europe's most highly rated midfielders in his area, in more defensive-minded position, for around £62 million. So well higher than what we spent money on Ozil. They're now looking to bring in Saliba. They're being linked with other players like Dani Ceballos. And I'm well aware they didn't sign anyone last year. But the fact that they've been out of the Champions League a lot longer than we had, we were spent many more years than them in the Champions League. We moved on from our stadium from 2006. It's been 13 years. Time flies when you're not having fun. 13 years since we moved from the stadium. And somehow they're able to be in a financial position to do this. Now, obviously, there are a lot of different stuff going on. There's things like finances. There's things like considering that the money is much higher in terms of income than it was. There's the fact that they got to the Champions League final last season, which all will back them financially. But I still can't understand how they're in a position. And you can look at their owner and look at our owner. There isn't too much difference. Spurs owner isn't that much involved at all, if any, into Spurs Football Club. If you do a little bit of research on him, that is mostly left up to Daniel Levy. Daniel Levy, obviously, in that very high executive role in the Spurs makeup. And we've got someone like Raul Sanllehi and now Edu and obviously Vinay Ventukasham. All of these people are meant to be doing and getting these deals done and proving that Arsenal are the fishing rod is very much got a strong piece of bait on the end of it, being at Arsenal, and it's just not true. Now, there is a slight positive to this story, and I don't really want to go into a crazed emotional rant because I know so many of you comment on the videos and say how level-headed we try to be on here with our views. But there is a side of things that there are reports saying that Arsenal do think that they've done so much in terms of building up a relationship with the player, building up a deal with Saint-Etienne themselves. And the fact that we're so far into this deal at this stage means that we hope that Saliba would choose Arsenal anyway because we've built up that relationship with the player. But if we're going off that, what are we doing? I mean, if you're a club and you're going to basically gamble this on the player's decision, because I think that Saint-Etienne ultimately have accepted our deal. They've accepted that. I don't know whether they can go back on it or not. I really don't know how it works. I'm not into that. I'm not in with that. I've never had to broker a transfer deal myself, so I'm not sure where it goes. But the fact that we're so far into it, they sort of accepted the terms that we put to them. Going back on loan next season was imperative. And we were talking on a previous show how the fact that we would pay so sort of little in terms of the structure of this deal season upon season to sign him was really positive for our budget. I can only see this, and don't get me wrong, I absolutely hate Tottenham Hotspur, but you can only look at them and think they're being extremely clever, knowing that ultimately they're going to win either way, because in one way, they're either going to get the player from us, or the other way, they're going to force us to spend a little bit more money in what has already been, as we know, a restricted transfer budget. So it is annoyingly clever from them, and it's going to work, and it's going to ruffle a fair few feathers amongst the fan base, and I just don't really get what's going on. I've just seen a comment in my chat from a friend called Liam, who's watching live. Thank you, Liam, for watching. Appreciate it, mate. But let's have a look at some more of your comments that you're saying here. Stephen Gilchrist says, exactly, Tom, Spurs are outdoing us, yet we were told that we couldn't compete due to the new stadium. Yeah, it's really irritating, it really is. Chris says, we have two poor left-backs who can't defend. That's an important position with centre-back. Tierney is more important to me than Saliba. I think Tierney's signing, you could argue, is definitely more important, but Arsenal need to be making a statement. I mean, the title of the video says that Arsenal need to basically show their reputation is solid, and their reputation is really on the line with this. If we allow Tottenham Hotspur to come in and steal this, and steal Saliba away from us, what does that say about this club? All of this joking around saying that Spurs are in our shadow. They're an inferior club. And in terms of history, yes, they 100% are. They're nowhere near Arsenal's level. But in modern day values, we are slipping and declining at such an alarming rate that we really need to sort ourselves out. And this is exactly the type of opportunity that Arsenal and the board and the executive members of that board have to try and turn this around. And if they can't do that, then it really shows the ambition and more of a transparency to how the fans should view this club. Ironically, season ticket renewal is passed, all that is done, and so ultimately they know they've got those guaranteed tickets done for them. Vincenzo says, why is that all the other clubs who billionaire owners spend loads of money despite FFP, yet we have a billionaire owner who can't or won't spend money? The FFP thing is really irritating, of course it is. The FFP thing basically demands that we can't invest in our club because if we make so much of a loss, we can't spend any money. If we make so much of a loss, we'll get fined or we get chucked out of a European competition. And so therefore, we can't put any money for our investor. Now that annoys a lot of fans because they see the likes of Sheikh Mansour at Manchester City turning around and pumping all this money into Man City. But unfortunately, we missed the boat in terms of that. Before FFP came in, Chelsea, Man City, Manchester United have always had that sort of financial edge. They were able to do that. Stan Kroenke, even if he wanted to, couldn't bankroll the club. It just wouldn't be feasible. And we make so much of a loss year on year. If you go and look back at Swiss Ramble's fantastic financial breakdown of the club, you could see all the analytics and the statistics that backed us and basically turned around and said that Arsenal are in such a poor position. And the only reason we're actually in a viable position is because we sold players like Oxlade-Chamberlain, sold players like Olivier Giroud. And that's the only reason we're actually able to compete in any sort of financial level with teams that are around us. I'm not talking about the likes of Liverpool, Chelsea and Manchester City because it's just not feasible anymore. In terms of what things we can do, Patrick Mull says stop going to games. They might wake up then. It's just not a feasible thing. The too many people will go to games and people won't stop. HD Gossi says more annoyed by how much teams like Everton, Leicester and Wolves and West Ham can show more ambition than us. Ahmed Ibrahim says if this move goes on, Tom, and Saliba joins Spurs, should Arsenal bid for Toby Alderweireld's release clause? I mean, if he's not good enough for them and they're happy to let him leave, or if I'm not really too sure on the logistics they do, if they want him to leave, are we really wanting to get Spurs sloppy seconds? Is that the club that we've become? I don't really think it is. I'd much rather that we went in for Saliba and go in for someone else that's more likely to improve and join the club and develop. That's where I stand on that. Asala says, do we have to sell centre-backs if we are to sign another centre-back, as we have 4 to 5 already? I don't think so. I think the fact that Koscielny is on the way out, well, Koscielny's seemingly on the way out as much as he wants to be. Maybe he still will be here next year if we can't seemingly sort out a deal with the likes of Rennes or Bordeaux. But centre-backs that we have Socrates, we have Mustafi, that we know from plenty of media outlets have said the club are trying to move Mustafi on desperately. We've got Mavropanos on holding, and obviously they're 2 very young players. We've got the of Zach Medley in the youth team as well. So yes, we do have a lot, but you have to be ruthless in this world of football, and you have to turn around and think, if we have the opportunity to upgrade on our players, we need to upgrade on our players, and that's just the bottom line. We have Chambers as well, as Chris said, but although he did play a lot of games at defensive midfield, which I kind of like because I kind of want to see how he develops and how versatile he can be into next season. Functional Yum says, how can Mustafi stay ahead of Bielik? Yep, I 100% agree with you. If we let Bielik go, I think it'll be an absolutely huge detriment to the club. And Nick NW2 says, what happened to the Adidas money and increased TV revenues we keep hearing about? It's really interesting. When I was on the show with Hugh Wizzy the other day and on his channel as well, and he was asking me about where the money's gone, I really did struggle to come up with an answer to the question, because my thoughts were initially it's all wages. We still haven't finished back paying the stadium yet. Those payments are still going through, and we're still basically at a point where we're making a loss because we're just not bringing in enough money in terms of revenue. Years out of the Champions League has really harmed us, and all of this means that it basically means our financial position is so weak and so poor that we have no chance to compete with the other clubs that are around us. And so ultimately we're relying on our own savviness and hopefully a little bit of luck with our players on the pitch that we can turn this around and move forward. I'm going to answer a couple more questions and then I'm going to have to go. Nathan Witten says this window is similar to the one where we only signed Czech and we only would have won the league that year if more came in. Obviously hypotheticals, but yeah, I can see the comparisons with that season. Stick says 8.8 million for Koscielny. Ain't nobody paying that. His legs are gone. Yeah, I think if he wants to buy out his contract, that little bit of extra cash is all I'm happy for. I'm not happy with the way it's gone down. I don't think he's acted very professionally. But unfortunately, that's just the way it goes for a man that wants to get a move. Shadman Chowdhury says, if the Saliba deal doesn't happen, do you think the club will go into panic mode? I think the club's been in panic mode for a long time, which is ironic considering that Raul Sanllehi came out earlier in the season and told us that the club had got their target sorted a year in advance and they knew exactly what they were going to do. If that was the case, we would see a lot more signings be coming in right now. So the fact that we've gone on the US tour and we've only signed Martinelli, who is still obviously a very raw youth prospect, the fact that we're not going in with any new real signings that can't integrate into the team. You look at Spurs, who have gone and gotten Ndombele. Chelsea have obviously sorted out plenty of players, and they've spent more money than us, and they've got a transfer ban. That's how ironic that is, bringing in the likes of Kovacic, etc. Manchester United are obviously in talks to sign Milinkovic-Savic for around £75 million, which is huge. And Man City have signed Rodri to replace the ageing Fernandinho, which is an absolutely brilliant signing, and they will get all of the rewards for making that deal because he is a fantastic player. The players at teams around us, the likes of Everton, the likes of Leicester, the likes of Wolves, that are just behind us, and West Ham are spending so much money trying to catch up. And if we don't react to that, we are going to ultimately fall behind, decline, and continue to the fact that we're not even competing for the Europa League. And it sounds absolutely ridiculous, but with the way this club is going and the lack of ambition, the lack of savviness in the transfer market, I can't see anything other than this club continuing to decline. We need something to happen now. We need to see it fast, and it can all start with us actually going out there and getting this Saliba deal done. I hope you've enjoyed the video, people. If you have, please slap a like on the video, and we'll see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.